Hi, everyone. Welcome to yet another amazing episode of Beyond the First Chapter with Carmen, Olivia, and myself, Jolanda. As you know, we're lifelong friends and family. We've been together 30 plus years and we've done a lot of growing and caring, loving and fighting as a trio, and we're here to share that with you. So, lately, a lot has been coming across For You pages and things of that nature concerning struggle love, especially in the Black community. And personally, I'm a little offended, but that's just a Jolandaism. You may be okay with that, and that is okay. But seeing those things prompted me to contact my sisters and say, hey, let's talk about it. Let's get everyone's opinion. Because as we know, historically, the Black African American family was a very tight knit thing. We had no choice. We had to be tight knit because we only had each other to depend upon. So we had strong households. We had fathers, whether people choose to believe it or not. We had fathers in the households. We all stayed together in our tight knit communities. As things evolved and we got more freedoms, we started to expand and go out away from our communities to explore and gain new opportunities. And I am 51 in 2 days. So in my 51 years of living, what I've noticed is that when we left our tight knit communities and explored out, we did well. We really did well. And it did not seem to sit right with the powers that be that we were still able to survive and thrive outside of the box that they had placed us in. And again, in my time of being on this planet, I noticed the rise of that struggle love narrative, where if you didn't, I hate the term, get it out the mud, it didn't matter. It didn't mean as much. And that is not only in the context of a loving um, heterosexual, homosexual, whatever your sexuality relationship, but also in realms of corporate relationships and the things that we do to gain and earn our monies. So that's my blurb of what we're going to discuss today, and hopefully you'll find this enjoyable. So we're going to let Carmen take the lead today and start the questioning.
Okay. Before I start the question, we always got to figure out, we always got to just get out there and just ask, how was your week? We haven't actually spoken to each other in 2 weeks. And that's kind of,
Mm.
we try to really reach out to each other at least once a week, but we haven't really seen each other or talked to each other in 2 weeks. So, how was your week, sisters? How was
I'm going to start first.
okay, go ahead.
Okay, it was amazing. Um, I really didn't do anything, guys. I chilled. As you both know, because you saw me a couple weeks ago, I was in Chicago for 2 weeks with my mom being the perfect daughter and doing all the things I need to do. And I came home and I had to reset because being the perfect daughter is tiring. So I had to reset, recoup, and get my schedule back together. And I was discussing with the ladies 5 seconds ago that I took a new class today, an African dance class, and it was amazing. So I am kind of um, high on excitement and enjoyment, which is why I was like, I'll speak first because I have a lot of energy right now and I'm still vibing from that. So, yay, amazing. Okay.
Olivia.
Well, I finished up summer school on July 3rd. That was my last day. I completely cleaned up my classroom, which was the first time in, I'm gonna say forever, unless I moved from another classroom, that I ever like scrubbed my classroom down like there's nothing there. And it felt like a weight lifted off my shoulders, which was crazy. Um, and I am getting ready and packing to go to DC tomorrow night to go and celebrate with my sorors in DC.
I'm
Going on in
jealous.
DC? Tell us what's going on in DC.
Oh, Delta Sigma Theta, our 57th National Convention. Yeah.
Yay.
So we are going to be in DC. There's going to be a sea of crimson and cream all throughout DC. Beautiful women all around. And just getting the business done, working on things that help minorities, things that help women, things that help children, and just really focus on what can we do next in the community to help, especially during this time that we are living in and actually going through right now, which is, I don't know, every day is something new. And at this point, I'm just like, when is Jumanji over? That's how I feel. When is it over? Like we
When do
used
we
to
scream
joke about
Jumanji?
it during 2020, during the pandemic, we used to joke about it, but now I really feel like the game board is truly moving and the pieces are moving, and I'm like, what is going on? There's like Tahoe turned into an ocean. Texas is like almost completely flooded. Alcatraz
Yeah.
is ridiculous. They're sending people there to get like it's the Haitians though are rocking it out in New York as they always do. So just ready for the game to be over. And I don't mean for me, I mean the game to be over so we all can get back to peace.
Right, right, right. Okay.
That's it.
Well, for myself, I went to take my baby girl to her freshman orientation in Wisconsin, to the University of Wisconsin Stevens Point. And she had a wonderful time. We had a great time. Uh, she met her roommate, and or they bonded, and they've been talking ever since. So that was really nice. And then we decided to stay over a couple of days, and we drove to Wisconsin Dells, and
Mhm.
it was nice to just be with my family, just us as we used to have them as little kids, when we took them to Wisconsin Dells, and now they're 24 and almost 18, and to have them just the two of us to have our kids, it was really nice. So we had fun. They did a hot sauce challenge, and I had to run them to get uh, milkshakes because their mouths was on fire, and I was like, this is hilarious, but that'll learn you. You shouldn't have done it. You're not my daddy. Only that man could take hot sauce like that. But it was fun being out. And yeah, and then I came home, and you know me, I've been in my happy place in my garden, trying to figure out
Okay.
how to get rid of these cabbage potatoes, y'all. Cabbage, not cabbage worms that are eating up my collard greens. So anybody want to chime in?
I was
Out
going to
there.
ask you, what can you do about that?
I'm
Oh,
trying neem. I'm trying neem oil right now. That's what I'm trying right now to try to figure out if that's working. I've been treating it every day for the last week and a half. So I'm
Mm.
gonna give it another. If not, I'm gonna go back to what I know my daddy did, and my daddy put down some lime powder, and, and I know
Oh,
that
okay.
I know that works. But I was trying to find some other organic ways to do it. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go on, go real back
Mm.
southern in the day. Farmers put down the lime.
I was gonna tell you to boil some cinnamon, clove, and some lime and spray it around.
Hmm.
That'll actually help the bugs. It's natural and it won't hurt anything else. So that's something that's always good. And it also um, brings the bees for pollination around. So
What was that? Cinnamon, lime,
cinnamon, lime, and cloves.
and cloves.
I'll give
Oh,
it a try.
excuse me.
I'll give it a try. So, well, I'm glad everybody had a relaxing and productive 2 weeks, and we reset for whatever next. We're
Mm.
in our next phase. What's next? What's next? We're always that's what this chapter is about, right? Next. So, I'm going to start off with our questions about struggle love. Why do you think struggle love is often romanticized or expected in the Black community? Why do you think struggle love is often romanticized or expected in the Black community? Let's go first.
Okay, I probably have an unpopular opinion. I believe it to have been romanticized and expected of the Black community because it's a way to kind of isolate those who don't have that. So it puts them on the outside. So what you would then be teaching your masses is that the ideal relationship would be to not to live in comfort, but to always live paycheck to paycheck, hand to mouth or foot to mouth. Um, Never to have that, like you said, we have relaxing weeks. That would be the wouldn't be the norm. That would be like, oh, you had a relaxing week, but you think you better than me? You know, you're supposed to be out here struggling and worrying all the time, my opinion. So that puts me, the reason I said that, okay, we all remember Good Times. Okay. I personally stopped watching Good Times um, as a child, and I didn't understand why. As an adult, I get it. Good Times was an amazing series. It really was. It did show a loving family. However, that loving family never left that two-bedroom project apartment. The children grew up, they stayed there. Both parents worked, they stayed there. The children got jobs, corporate jobs, they stayed there. Uh, Thelma got married. Her husband, who was doing well, I'm not going to call him a millionaire because I don't know what football salaries were in the 70s and 80s, but he did well. He got hurt. They came back to the two-bedroom apartment in the projects. So that's to me as a representation of the romanticizing of a struggle love situation where you think that this is what you should aspire to be. And those who don't have that, you don't want to be like that. You don't want that. That's not normal. This is normal. This is what you're supposed to want. That's my opinion.
I don't have anything to say. I mean, I really don't.
Um, I don't. In my opinion, is that it's not romanticized. It's not really expected. To me, it's not. And I
Your
guess,
opinion.
yeah, it's because and I don't want even want to even say just in the black community. It's not, it's not so much expected. Um, not just in the black community. I don't want to put it in there. And I guess that would get me, would have to deal with the next question going to ask is how would you define struggle love in your own words? And I'll go first because that kind of ties into what I'm saying. Is that when I think about struggle love, I think of it as a one-sided relationship, or off-sided relationship. Be it in a personal relationship, be it a business relationship, or anything where the one the one party is pushing to better it or better themselves or better or elevate it in some type of way, but is facing adversity against the second party, and it's just
Are they
not
facing adversity from the second party?
from, yeah, it could be from the second party or from, the situation that they, I mean, if you're in a person, if you're speaking of a personal relationship, then
Mm-hmm.
it could be, you're facing that adversity, or you're not, or that person is stagnant and not growing. You're growing and they're not. You're trying to elevate the relationship. They're not doing anything. You're doing everything in that relationship to try to make it better, but they're just not, they're not moving.
Mm-hmm.
In a business relationship, you're doing everything to try to grow, but it's just, you're facing so many adversities where it's just not happening. I mean, is I mean, that's what I think when you say struggle of, you have a love, you have, what I mean, a compassion for what it is, and you're mistaking that compassion for love, and it's a struggle, but
Mm-hmm.
and you just get, what I mean, we oftentimes get stuck in that because we think this is how it's supposed to be, especially if you're speaking of a personal relationship where you could have mental, physical, emotional abuse. I think, oh, we're just passionate, or you're argumentative with each other, or and you just, oh, we're just passionate about our relationship. No, 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 you're supposed to. No, love is not supposed to be this way. You're not supposed to. You're not supposed to be able to struggle through love. Love is not, by definition, does not have a a component in it where you feel that you have to constantly fight for it.
Okay. That's good to know. So we
Yeah,
have totally different definitions of struggle love. See,
yeah,
your
yeah, yeah, yeah.
definition that of what you consider struggle love, I would call that complacency. Okay. My definition of struggle love or struggle growth is I work, and I never get ahead. I never get ahead. Um, so if if I have three apples today, I got three apples in 10 years. And I'm never going to have more than three apples. It's always, for me, that's the struggle. I never can get out for whatever reason. It could be the monkey in the barrel scenario where someone's pulling me down. It could be self-doubt. It could be hitting the quote unquote glass ceiling. But for whatever reason, I cannot get ahead. And when I say it in terms of love in that type of relationship, that's me and my partner always struggling and never getting ahead. Never being able to put aside money to do better, to have investments, to grow generational wealth. Just always paycheck to paycheck. In corporate America or the world in business, never being able to see a project to fulfillment. Just never getting ahead. So that's good. So we are definitely going to have a good conversation because we have two different viewpoints. Okay. Olivia, what's your definition?
Um, so struggle, I guess, is just not being able to make moves, sort of like what you said with not being able to move forward. But I think it's more of you got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and pulling up in people say pulling up by your bootstraps, and you're doing all of the things that they're telling you to do, and you're still not making it. um I think that when it comes to struggle love, going back to what Carmen said about like fighting and um yelling and arguing and not and having to stay in that, I don't see that part as struggle love. Well, I do see that as struggle love, but I also see it as abuse. And I feel like for me, this topic's more of why as and I know Carmen said struggle love is everybody, but I don't personally believe it. I truly believe that it's relegated to the African American community. And I don't mean Africans from Africa. I mean our community who's been here from slavery, because I truly believe that it's a societal thing. I also believe that it's a condition thing, that we are supposed to work and work and work and work and work and work and work until we die. Like there's never any, like Carmen said, peace. There's never any relaxation. There's never any investment. There's never any vacations. There's nothing. Like I know people who have worked the day they retire, the next day they die. They did all of that for nothing. They have to have funerals, and they have to have a GoFundMe because they didn't have enough to do a funeral. Like, so for me, struggle is a construct. I also believe that it's something that we were conditioned as African American slaves on this continent to go through. And right now in life, I see I see a lot of us as African Americans. There's a section of us who are still in that struggle section, and then there's the rest of us who are out there doing the trail ride dances, who are walking groups, having dad groups, doing yoga, dance, having African dance, playing in the garden. So it's a dichotomy for me, I guess.
I love that we all using these big words. I'm enjoying today. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm so proud of us. Okay, go ahead, Carmen.
Do you believe that there's a difference between enduring love and struggle love?
Well, you said it. I
I'm
mean,
like,
I
you,
mean,
Carmen
yeah,
answered that one.
I did. Yeah, I do believe that there is a difference because enduring love is uh it's reciprocal, you know.
Mm.
And to me, struggle love is there's no reciprocation there at all. You know, there's it's totally one sided. You know, you're fighting for something that another person is not. You know, not there with you. And in enduring love, they know, you know, what I mean, there's a person that's in this with you, or you know, there's a business that you see, or a scenario or a situation that you're in that you know that in the end there is a positive outcome. There is a goal that can be reached, is obtainable in enduring love. But in a struggle love, yeah, that there's really nothing that obtainable. You know, at the end of it is nothing but heartache or you know what I mean or disappointment, you know, or more struggle as like Jolanda said.
Well, I have nothing else to say. You said it. So uh,
Okay. Where do you think the idea that love must come with pain and hardship originated? Oh, I like this question. Where
well,
do you
I've already,
think the idea and yeah, I think you did
Olivia
touch on
said
this.
that.
Yeah, that the pain of heartache and uh, you know, pain of struggling and everything originated from. What do you think there?
I agree with what Olivia said, but I also, this is going to be my man hating woman, I mean, woman hating man statement, but it's how I feel. I think a lot of it was from the patriarchy so that we as women would accept some of the abuse that was heaped upon us. Love hurts, you have to deal with the hard times to get to the good times. Without pain, there's no pleasure. Like a lot of those terms that I'm sure you've heard before, they're not necessarily the truth.
they're
Yes.
still saying them.
Well, I know. I'm just talking.
No, I'm
Um,
just saying, I agree with you. There, people are still saying them.
so that's where I think it came from. Am I right? In my world, I am. So that's all I have to go on. So that's where I think it came from.
I could say this, you know, and pertaining to the Black community in particular, is that that pain and hardship is kind of built into our DNA. I mean,
Nah.
that our I think because we have that trauma from being, you know, ripped from our home and brought
Okay.
here and made to slave for other people and building a whole country on our backs that still does not recognize us the way we should be. That kind of trauma is kind of built into our DNA. And that's what some of that we struggle against now, you know, that we can recognize that it is. We struggle against that. So, I mean, and have recognition of a problem, this is the only way that you'll be able to address and solve it. So, a lot of us are now recognizing that that trauma of slavery was built in us, and we recognize that, and we're fighting and uh, we're healing from that trauma now.
Okay. I mean, I disagree. However, that's what the conversation is made upon. Because, and I'm sorry, Olivia, I cut you. You had took a breath to speak.
That's all right.
Um, and I'm gonna bring you up. Olivia and I had a conversation yesterday. Um, I think it was yesterday, one of the days, and we were talking about trad wives. I think that was yesterday.
Hmm.
So
I didn't
Just
hear that.
like
I'm
right
sorry.
now, I'm sorry,
What type of wife? I'm sorry, I didn't know.
trad wife, traditional wife.
Oh, okay, got you, got you, got you.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Apologies, I didn't give a definition. Um, I discovered some things yesterday speaking to Olivia, like I just discovered some things talking to you, Carmen. I've been around you all my life. Your definition of struggle love, I know that. I didn't know we totally had different ideas. My definition of a traditional wife and Olivia's definition of a traditional wife are not totally different, but they like 60/40. It's a difference. So I am really excited having this conversation because even though I don't necessarily agree with what you're saying, it allows me to understand when you say certain things, when we have conversations, that, okay, now I get it because that's how you see this. Whereas vice versa, she didn't know how I thought about these things. I'm sure you didn't know my definition of struggle love. So when I say certain things, you will look at me like, okay, but now you'll understand. So hopefully this helps the general audience that's going to watch this because we literally have like, hell, I'm gonna say like 5 or 6 different opinions because we all have different personalities. I know I got 3 or 4, and each of them has a different opinion on stuff. So it's really interesting to sit here and open up this cookie jar. Yeah, okay. It's your turn, Olivia.
So I know what Carmen said is something that I wanted to bring up when I said that it's definitely in the African American community. So about her saying that trauma is in our DNA, and I'm gonna say this, there has been many African American studies of psychiatrists doing studies on African Americans for years about how slavery has gone through the DNA of African Americans. Now, granted, a lot of us are breaking those traumas. We are constantly, but there's still some of us who are still in that same slavery mentality, which for me is what struggle mentality is connected to. The whole like, I gotta work for master, I gotta work, I gotta work, I gotta work. Well, when are you gonna sit down and rest? Or I only rest when I go to church. And then you hear, well, you gotta struggle, you gotta struggle to struggle before you can go to heaven. Like, then you hear, well, if I get a relationship, I gotta struggle and struggle and struggle to find a mate. Then when we're in the relationship, I gotta struggle and struggle. And then if I have kids, we gotta struggle and struggle. Like, so I definitely agree with Carmen on that it is in our DNA. I am with Jolanda as far as people are breaking it. We are trauma breaking, a lot of us. And I've noticed Gen X is the generation that is truly focused on breaking this for their children. So all of the millennials and all of them are coming after us who are like, oh, we're so this, we're so that, we believe in all of this and all of that. They're getting it from us because we've
Broken it.
broken it for them. So when you go back to that question of the difference between enduring love and struggle love, when I see enduring love, I don't just see relational, it's relational. I really believe enduring love is just having the love for someone unconditionally forever. Struggle love for me is, like Karma said, I got to keep working and working, and I'm not getting anything reciprocated at the end. So, and that enduring love, it's hard to see in a romantic relationship because there's parts of those relationships when there are times that you do struggle
Mm.
and there's times that you do endure. So I I don't know. I, that's all I can say.
Okay.
You said a lot. You said a lot.
Yeah.
Right. How have you seen struggle love portrayed in your own family?
You're muted. Can't hear you.
Is she?
What? Yeah, I am.
Okay. You I can hear you.
Okay, say it
Oh
again.
no, now you're muted. There you go. Uh-uh.
Now?
Yes.
Got it. Okay. I don't know what happened there. Okay. Little technical difficulty, but that's okay. How have you seen struggle love portrayed in your family or community, your own family or your um
Okay. Um, in my family, I've seen it with a lot of my aunts and I'm gonna say aunts because I really don't pay attention to what the people who are the same age as me do, like my aunts and great aunts and things like that. Um, there was a saying, black women don't leave. So regardless, and that was a statement in my family. So regardless of what that woman went through, regardless of whether or not her husband or her man worked, regardless of whether or not she had to do everything on her own, go to work, raise the children, tend to the sick man who did or didn't work, deal with the outside relationships, possibly raise the outside children, you don't leave because black women don't leave. So that was something I remembered growing up and watching and thinking, no, no one deserves that. And personally, that was the belief in when my mom left my father because, he did the greatest thing ever, which was helping to bring me here. But other than that, he was an okay human being. He had his demons, but he was not a good husband. And when she chose to leave, she was ostracized by a lot of family members because how dare you? Why didn't you stick it through? That's what we do. But no. So I think that because I experienced it firsthand of watching someone decide I am not going to struggle in this mess and I'm going to do what's best for me and my offspring, and watching that person then thrive after they left the mess, that might be why I have such a different viewpoint uh, on this topic. Some people never experience that because they had parents who were good together, so they don't understand that, and some may have had parents who stayed, so they don't understand that and thought that that was their norm. So that's how I've seen it in my family. As far as community, just in theater. So I will say like watching television, watching the what did I say? Uh, Good Times versus the Jeffersons. And even as a child, people having conversations about how the Jeffersons were not realistic, whereas Good Times was very realistic. And I'm like, no, it's just two different sides of the same coin. It's two different families. So that's how I've seen it play out in my community.
they say that the Jeffersons weren't realistic or
I've heard conversations on that when I
wow.
was. You also have to realize, remember, we had a couple episodes back. I told you I went to school where I was the only sometimes or one of four. So, a very seeing positive interpretations of Black love and of a man being a self made man and his wife being able to stay at home and raise the children and have the freedom to relax. They didn't like that. And, you know.
It was unrealistic because
It
of
was
that.
unrealistic.
Olivia, you want to go? You have anything, or you want me to go? Olivia?
Um, have I seen a struggle of portrayed in my family or my community? Family, not really. Um, one, my family's very small. My dad only had a brother. My mom was the only child. So there you go. Um, Community, yes. Uh, a lot of women that I looked up to, I saw, but I also saw them leave out of the situation after a while. So I've definitely seen that. Um, so yeah, I have. I've actually seen people I know my age. So yeah.
I could say I've seen it in my own family. I mean, um, the 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 women, uh, like Jolanda said, aunts. We share aunts, so we've seen. I have seen it. That way. I've seen it um, with. I've seen both the struggle of and the enduring love with my own parents. Uh, you know, one parent moving forward, the other parent wanting to stay where they are, but then, but then it's kind of like, oh, the love that they have for each other is like, if this is what you want, then I want to be my person. So they kind of had that enduring love for each other. Kind of weird, but I mean, their dynamic was interesting. I shouldn't say it was
Okay.
weird, but their dynamic was interesting.
Okay.
Um, and that my mother was very dominant, but my father was that quiet storm. So what you saw was my mother's whirlwind, but you didn't know that my father was the earthquake. You know what I mean? So yeah, so they're that's kind of the picture of a relationship that I got, because they did endure until they both expired. So and like you said, in the community, I can't really say that I've seen it in the community, but what I mean, like you said, you brought up Good Times as a really good example, um, of because I didn't even think of it that way, because like at the end of it, they did all leave the projects.
I didn't know that. I never saw the end because
Yeah,
I got
they all did.
tired.
Yeah,
It
at the
took too
end,
long.
it
It,
out
it
when the TV show went off, the last episodes with them leaving everybody, even Walona, everybody left the projects.
but you brought up the Willona character. Now, I found the her quite interesting. I never had a problem with Willona because even though she was a single woman, she did better than the couple. She was the boutique manager. She had a two-bedroom apartment. No, no, they
She
both
did.
had two.
They both had two bedrooms. Yeah,
Her apartment
exactly.
just seemed bigger. Like she had a kitchen that she went into, didn't she? They didn't have a kitchen with a door. I don't know. Maybe it was bigger because it was just her and then eventually Penny. So maybe that's why it seemed bigger to me. Um, and she traveled and did things. She even dressed different. And I don't know if we were supposed to think her in a non-positive. I always thought of her as a positive. I liked Willona.
Oh
I
yeah,
just
you're
did
supposed to
not
think of
like
her.
the fact that the family could not leave. Like,
It was
how many
always a
paychecks
hit
y'all
So,
after
need?
it was a hit after a hit. You know what I'm saying? They kept taking hits. You know, it was just like you
I
said,
don't like that.
the struggle was always there.
Yeah. What were you about to say, love?
so I'm gonna play devil's
Please.
advocate because Good Times is one of those shows that I watch religiously. I even had the box set so that my children watched Good Times.
Mm.
Um, so Good Times at the beginning, when they first met, James and Florida both worked. She was a domestic. As soon as she had JJ, he told her to stop working. They came from a flat back in, and you guys know, because you guys lived in Chicago, you know what the flats were. They were just like a one room with a little kitchenette and they shared a
Mm.
bathroom.
Mm.
At that time, and we all know, Chicago opened up Cabrini Green. That
Mm.
was supposed to be the savior for the Black people getting out of the flats, moving somewhere where it's positive. The whole purpose of the show was to show how the Black family, the nucleus could be broken. That was the whole purpose of the show. It was not about. Mm. So
No,
I
stop.
I
What do you
love
mean?
Norman
What do you
Lear.
mean could be broken? I don't understand.
So when I say to be broken is because they tried to break the family with one, James having to be a cook, a car washer, and take odd jobs. Almost always getting evicted every month, having to borrow money from Alona. Then every time they got ahead, when James went back to school to get his engineering degree, that he couldn't take it because now he's over the age limit to
Mhm,
become a construction worker because he had to get an engineering degree to become a construction worker back then so that
mhm.
he could be part of the union. So then that was the other hit. So then Florida was like, well, then I'll go back to school because neither one of them had their high school diploma. That will
Mhm.
help me to then get more work so that I can help the family out. James got upset with that. He did not want his wife work going to school because of the fact that she would not be that traditional wife. All his other friends were like, yeah, when my wife went back to school or when my wife wanted to better herself, she left me and she realized that I wasn't this and I wasn't that. So that was another part. So then finally James said, oh, I'll go to school with you. That lasted about a month. Then from there, when they started to to do stuff, save money, all of a sudden JJ needed all his wisdom teeth pulled out. So then the money that they
Okay.
saved for Thelma was taken away. Then
Question, though, sweetie. So,
yes.
so it's like what Carmen said, hit after hit after hit. But I'm trying to understand. So you're saying that the point, because I don't know what the for me, I didn't see a point, a positive point, but I'm not a historian on the show. So you're saying the point of the show was to show that even though they always had issues, they stayed together. Was that the point?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
okay,
To show
that's
the struggle
lovely.
love.
And you can
Yes.
have struggle of. You can have issues, but still move forward. You can have issues and stay together, but Olivia.
But they wanted to keep them in the same. So going back to it, the whole point of it, regardless of what you're saying is you can move forward, they wanted to keep them in the same place. That's why when James finally got the job
Mm,
in doing the oil piping in Alaska, that
mm.
it had to kill him because then it was supposed to break Florida so that they couldn't ever move out of that place.
And they
Then
did.
all of a sudden, hold on. Then all of a sudden, JJ gets this job, and he's making his own cards, and
Yeah.
he started a business with his friends to show the entrepreneurship. Mind you, he still has his paintings and all that stuff that he was always doing. Now he has that. Then all of a sudden, that folds. They put all their money in. That folds. He freaks out. All of a sudden, he turns into helping out the drug dealers to get some money to help his family again. Again, they're trying to keep us in the hole. That was the whole purpose of the story. It wasn't
But you
about
said that you
struggle. What
love,
it was about
but that
keeping
is
us in
struggle.
the, okay.
I'm no, I'm not arguing with you. I'm trying to,
Okay.
you got don't shut down.
No,
I'm
no,
really trying,
I'm saying
I'm
okay.
really trying to understand what you're saying because you're saying that the goal was to show that through struggle, through adversity, the family unit can stay
Not
together.
not just that, but to keep us in our place. It
Okay,
was about keeping us in our
so
place.
we're actually agreeing, and I'm just not understanding what the hell you were saying. So it
That's
was
what I
to
was gonna say.
show black people that hey, pay attention because this is what society wants from you.
Hmm.
Like, well, okay, well, thank you. I still stopped watching it because it
Because
pissed me
when they
off.
finally moved out, they moved to Beverly. That's
I
where they
don't know that.
moved. And
That's
they
lovely.
found a two-family home in Beverly where
Okay,
Walona ended up being their upstairs neighbor.
that's really amazing.
Right.
So
I
that
don't think it was
so at
Beverly, but
the
it was
end,
the
the big
area where I live, where I grew up, to Washington Heights. To that's where they moved to Washington Heights.
mm, I'll have to go back, but I know it was Beverly because she was talking about the garden that they were putting back in So anyway, wherever they
It
had
don't
a
matter.
two flat,
They moved south side. They moved to the south side. We know that much. We know
they
that.
had a two flat, and it was a big deal because it was enough room that even there was a garden apartment so that everybody can move in. Mama can move in because it was just Keith in
Thelma?
whatever the daughter's name was.
Thelma?
Um,
No.
Thelma moving in because, and then she said she was pregnant, so then Mom moved in,
Okay.
and then um JJ moves into the basement apartment, and then
They didn't do
good old Mike ends up moving away because he's still at Chicago State. So he moved into an apartment with his college roommates.
I
and they
think that
moved
that's
there.
wonderful. I wish I would have
Right.
seen the last
Yeah,
one.
and they didn't know who their neighbor was going to be. And then Walona comes in and say, "Hey, I'm moving too. I found a place." And she says her address, and then they say their address, and it was like, "Oh, we still neighbors. It's the
That's
same
lovely.
building."
Okay. That's lovely. Well, I'm still using it because
Oh, it's
I
still
can
a
only
good
go
example.
by what I knew, which actually is what you're saying.
Yeah,
Um,
still a good
but
example.
I couldn't stomach it. Like even as a kid, I was just like, y'all never gonna
I
get
mean,
out.
look at
Everybody
Sanford
gonna
and
die.
Son.
I didn't watch it. I only watched a little bit of Sanford and Son
That's the
because
same thing. And that's
it
not,
got
and
on
that
my
wasn't
nerves.
between a man and a woman. That was him and his
His
son
son.
trying to make it doing a junkyard. Yeah, at
Yeah,
the end, he falls in love. And, after losing his wife and all of that stuff. And then you flip side, like you said, look at the Jeffersons. But before in the Jeffersons, his his wife was a domestic for Maud.
yeah.
She
She worked
was
for Maud.
Maud's maid for years. She
Yeah.
didn't become a traditional wife until they moved to the high rise.
But
So it
what
was
does that
many,
have
many,
to
many
do with
moves.
them?
The boy was grown when that happened.
But that's still my point. They moved. They grew.
But I'm saying though, it took them many, many years for them to
But
get
they
to that.
grew.
Oh, okay.
They
Okay.
grew.
Oh, and
The other ones didn't grow until they decided the series was over. That's my point. And that was the bigger show in the African American community. I have
which
to
one?
argue that.
Good,
Which one?
good
The
times.
project show.
Good times.
Good times. Sorry, I couldn't remember the name for 2 seconds. And that was my issue. I don't mind having depictions of different situations because that's reality.
Well, look
Hell,
at
my
Cooley High.
family, I didn't watch Cooley High.
I
Cooley
know.
Don't
High,
get me.
same
Sorry,
thing.
But let me
I didn't
finish
It
see
what
was
it.
a
I was
depiction.
saying. Don't because I know Olivia and I go back and forth on this because Olivia is more of a staunch. This was a black people thing, and I'm gonna support it, and I don't like it. So I don't care if it's black, white, Hispanic, or whoever. If I don't like it, I don't like it. So you guys should be picking up on that. Um, you should show different depictions of life. That's reality.
Mhm.
But I don't care where you start from. There has to be growth or you die. You either grow or you die. I'm half a generation out the projects. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. Like many of those same people I look to started in the projects and they just moved out as they grew. My aunts who babysat me, I would go to the projects to be babysat. And over time, by the time I was in high school, they were all out. It wasn't the biggest house. It might not have been the best neighborhood, but they grew. They took that stepping stone and they grew. They did not stay. They didn't stay in it. That's my issue. I really I respect and I love everybody. But yeah,
But that goes back to the mindset.
we're the only people that are
But that
always
goes back to the
depicted that
mindset
way.
Carmen was talking about, though, about about slavery and the trauma. That goes back to that. People, do you understand that some people have been locked into their own brain that they'll never get out of I have the projects from where I live called the Hebron Projects. When I was growing up, do you know that they still call it the Hebron Projects? They're beautiful townhomes. They still, to this day, it's 2025.
Excuse me.
They still call it the Hebron Projects.
Well, what's the
Like,
name of it?
it's just called the Hebron Township.
Okay.
Because they were
I
going
don't
to
know.
build their own township, and it was pretty much minority black.
Okay.
And then there were Caucasians who lived around. Well, then they turned it in, they called it the projects and ended up all being the projects. Like, a lot of people are locked in that mentality still. You're talking about growing and having a growth mindset. How many people are even educated enough in their own family to even say, I have the growth mindset for me by myself to step out, for me
Hmm.
to say,
Yeah.
forget what they're saying, I gotta leave. I gotta make it on my own. One thing I will say about the about Michael out
Mm.
of that family, he
Mm.
was the only one who always talked about leaving the project. He was the
Mm-hmm.
only one who actually left and had to get brought back
Mm.
because the parents didn't, his mother in general didn't want him living with the white girl that he was going to live with. And it wasn't anything sexual. It was just that she had the money and she had a room.
Mm. Wow.
So the growth
So,
mindset. Mhm,
so, okay. So having this lack of growth mindset stemming from historic traumas
mhm,
that are encoded in the DNA,
mhm.
do you think, how am I wording this? So it would be kind of a trauma bond and also a fear thing. Like, I'm used to this. I find comfort in this because it's encoded within me. Society is telling me this is where I need to be. And if I'm not, it's really out of reach, or I'm a bad person, or I'm doing something negative. Um, I can't, I'm kind
We
of
hear
getting
what you're
Um,
irritated.
saying.
to private
I'm getting
school.
so
We all went to
irritated.
private school, right? Every one of us went to private school. No matter how long we went before, and then Carmen, we all went, right? So while we were in private school, right? Carmen's the only one who had a different experience because her private school was mainly African American, right?
My first one was.
So, but your high school wasn't, right?
My high school wasn't, no.
Okay. So let's go there. When you went to Carmen, the school after the one that was predominantly African American, was that still the next school you went to was more predominantly African American still?
You're
Yeah,
talking
because
about,
when
she
I
talking
went to,
about Joe's commercial, baby.
oh, you mean Jones? When I
Hmm.
went to high school? Okay, so no, it was not. It was,
Okay,
no, yeah, it was.
perfect, perfect. So we came we came uh, into these situations where there was a few of us. Yes. How many times have you ever been told, "Oh, you speak differently. You sound white."
Every day.
You would hold on.
Oh, sorry.
You you uh, you live where? You have a house? You don't live in an apartment? You don't live if you live on the south side, there's houses on the south side? Like
You're
like
not in the gang?
you don't have no children? Your mama's married? That's your actual dad? All of y'all got the same father? Like that mentality is so ingrained into certain people that when you're talking about, oh, they should have left, they should have, that's a growth mindset you had. You were technically, I'm going to say, you were born with. A lot of people aren't born with that growth mindset. They're not they're not seeing those things. That's why, and it pisses me
Society
off that.
perpetuates it so that you cannot escape it. Because, and I think that's what you were were trying to get at, Jolanda, when you was like, I thought
Yeah,
we
I
were
was trying to
triggered,
get
right?
some words. Thank
Yeah,
you.
when you were triggered, in that it's perpetuated by society, that everything you see is, oh, there's no man in the house. It's a single black woman struggling to raise children who and the children are for the streets, um and 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 that's it. You know what I'm saying? And it's just that's the mentality the society
You
has
know,
perpetuated.
and
And
I oh, okay. I want to just like take everybody and bash their heads against something because I'm like, God damn it, wake up.
right, but
Growing
you
up,
realize,
mhm,
I'm sorry,
okay,
Jolanda,
talk.
but you realize that again, our generation, um, and us in particular, having had different um, having had different relationship, our dichotomies were
Mm,
different.
mm,
Okay,
mm,
where you had a mother who left the situation and thrived. Okay, we come from a two-parent household. I come from two older parents who the value of education, or who push because they didn't have.
mhm.
They push for us to have what they didn't have.
which is a growth mindset.
Bro,
Right,
it
which is a
is. It
growth. Yeah,
is.
exactly.
It
So,
is.
and
It
when you
just
come,
bothers me though because when you said you hit my nerve when you said the single mother thing. My mom has I remember people asking her this. Well, Edna, who's helping you out? How are you putting her in school and doing all these things? And my mom is a staunch Christian, so she would be like, Jesus, God, that's who my man is. I mean, what you mean who helping me? I get up and go to work every day. And the fact, when I tell you some of my own family members who knew this woman still to this day thought that it was some man helping her pay them bills and stuff like that, it's nothing wrong if it was. To be honest, I don't give a damn. The bills got paid. But for you to look at her and say, but you can't do it on your own, and you're watching her do it on your own, that do something to me. Like Carmen, you said your parents were freaking sharecroppers. Come the hell on. And they moved on to have properties and raise four independent women and have grandkids and do all of these things. Nobody was asking them because he was a man in the house. Nobody was talking about, well, Mary, how you do that. Olivia, both your parents were educated. So they went on to do things. So it bothers me. I agree with you wholeheartedly what you both are saying. You know, I see things differently because I forced myself to have a different mindset because I knew what I wanted early on. Um, and that's all I was going to have. And I refused to have anything different. But it bothers me when you both said that, and I have to accept that reality that some people are still sitting in their traumas and acting as if they cannot get out. It's not easy to get out. It's not easy. It hurts. It's hard. It's lonely.
okay, yeah,
It's the same amount of work that you're doing to stay still. Why not do that work and push yourself forward? And that does not mean having money. Growth is not necessarily money. It's just learning more, doing more, experiencing the world.
So I understand what you're saying, Jolanda, and I'm gonna being a being at what I've done all my life and seeing the parents and seeing what I've seen, I'm gonna tell you, I've seen some parents now who have gone back to school, who have done things and things like that. And it's really, I mean, you've known people in your life too that have gone through trials and tribulations, single parent, and went back and become
Yeah.
all this stuff. Um, but what I can say is what you're saying as far as like just going back to school and not and it's not money and all that stuff is it's different I can say this because I've talked to some of my parents. It's different when you've always had that mindset. When you've always been told you can do it, you're smart, you can make this happen, versus the parents that I've talked to saying their teachers used to tell them they weren't smart enough, they were dumb, they were this. Their parents saying the same thing, their
Yeah.
parents kicking them out. Like you have to. I look at like I used to get mad at my parents so much when they would come home from school and they would tell us, we need 30 minutes. Don't talk to us for 30 minutes. And me and my sisters would literally want to break down their bedroom door because we're like, what about us? Like, I know you're decompressing from the kids and
Mm,
stuff, but what about us? Where's our time? Like, my parents gave so much to other people's children, and
mhm.
I see them now and I'm like, you did this, you did that. Like, and it's because they were fed. Some of the other kids who weren't fed that way, they don't grow up that way. And a lot of it is that you were fed positivity. You were fed you were good enough. You were fed you can do this. You can be a doctor. You were fed those things. When you are fed those things constantly, you will turn into those things. When you are not nourished in your soul by your parents, by your community, by your loved ones, you're not going to do that. It's
Yeah,
not going to happen unless you have it within yourself. And a
yeah,
lot of people don't have that wherewithal to do it for themselves because they've never had the pour into.
yeah. I cannot argue with that,
I
but I
can't
can
either.
say at least I did have it at home because if I just had to deal with the people out in the world, I don't think I would be alive. My instructors, I'm not going to call them educators, a lot of them were not positive people, and they told me very negative things about myself. But I did come home. Now, my mom was tired because she was a single mom and she was a nurse. She was tired. Uh, so I did a lot of playing by myself. That's how Carmen and I got close because she was the only person in my age group. So we became really close. So I would spend a lot of time in her family. So yes, I did. Oh, I'm about to cry. I
Just go.
Okay.
mhm. I did have those
Positive.
positive reinforcements from Mary and CJ. I had them from my mom, but I'll be honest with you, that was it. My blooded family,
Girl, don't
they
get us
would
started on
deny
that.
it, but mm,
They weren't there. And don't get
I
us
was
started
always
on
the
that,
black
girl.
sheep. I was the black sheep. I was a Edna, why you raising her like that? She's weird. Mm,
Because they had that mentality.
Because
They
they,
had that
it was them.
cage mentality.
They did. That was them.
I
Your
know,
mother did
but
the right thing. Yes, your mother, you know your mother did the right thing.
I think that's also why I'm so hard on it. Like when you said it's a trauma response and you said
Yes,
it's encoded in our DNA, you saw the first thing I said was no,
It
no,
is though.
it is.
yeah.
And my scientific mind understands that. You know, I love science. I definitely understand it. But in
But
order
your
for me
heart,
to move through this world, I have to say no.
hmm
No, that's not part of me. No, I can't. I can't accept it because I will not move forward because I have to still tell myself as a 50-year-old woman, girl, you're good enough. Keep going. You can do it. You can keep doing it. Go, go, go. Because the world is not going to tell you that, you
Because
know?
you were fed, like Olivia said,
Like
you
she
were
said.
fed. You were
Yeah.
fed. So you were able to that was able to be able to nourish your spirit and be able to break it. You broke that generational curse. You
Y'all got
broke
to stop
that.
making me cry every episode.
You broke it. We broke that
stop it.
I did pick the topic, but I think I was going to cry.
curse.
Oh, Lord. Excuse
All
me.
right, Carmen, next question.
Next question.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay. What roles do gender expectations play in reinforcing struggle love, especially black women?
Which one again? Say it again.
What role expectations play in reinforcing struggle love, especially Black women? Um, I would say uh, we are the the poster child. Black women are the poster child for struggle love because we were made to be this. You know what I'm saying? We were uh, society has put our face on it because we've made it work. You know what I'm saying? We have.
We made it look good.
We made it look good. Yes.
Because we put on our capes every day.
Every
Oh my
single day
gosh.
do. You know what I mean? Because and again, society gave us no choice when it kept trying to it kept coming for our families.
Yeah.
From
So
slavery on, stealing
it
our
kept coming
babies, everything.
exactly. So it made us have no choice but to be the
Yeah.
poster child for struggle up. So being in situations where we know that you keep trying to scratch and not knowing if there's ever going to be a positive outcome. So yeah, Black women are the poster child.
Yeah.
Um, I do definitely agree with you completely. We are the poster child. What I will say is, though, it didn't help that our Black men didn't protect us, as they didn't protect us from being the poster child. Um,
Mm, mm,
at the end of the 70s, beginning of the 80s, when Black men truly started, well, I got money, I'm gonna move out, I'm gonna start. I'm out of here. I'm not dealing with Black women because they're too bossy or they're too this, they're too that. I mean, till now, we still got that
mm.
mess going on now. Um, they didn't protect us, even though they had a Black mom. They didn't protect us, even though they had a Black grandma or a Black sister. Like they didn't protect us in the fight to keep our family together. And yes, society, government, everything worked their butt off to off them. 100% from the time we came over to now to break them down. But they didn't get that growth mindset to now I need to protect my Black women. You can see it now. And I don't want to bring up politics, but I have to. Even looking at this last election, only 82% of them voted for a Black woman. Only 82. The other ones truly believe that the Black woman and a lot of it, when I looked at the that breakdown of the 82%, a lot of them when they would do interviews, like the journalists, the Congress, like all of the little town halls, a lot of it is because they had a Black wife. And if you look at society, Black men marry more Black women, but the ones who don't fall over on that side. The ones who don't date Black women fall over on that side. The ones who prefer their preferences to date outside of their race fall onto that side. So when I say protection, they don't protect us as a whole. Knowing you blue, black, purple, your mama black. Why are you not protecting your mama? Oh, because you prefer dating outside your race? What is that? So I truly believe that women, yes, we are the poster, but it's because Black men don't protect us. So we do have to struggle. And the Black men who are there, it's a struggle with them. You might have to fight because they have outside babies or they have outside relationships, like Jolanda said in the beginning of the podcast. Like, and Black women, Black women don't leave, so we stay there. Jolanda.
I have no opinion upon this. I think everything's been said.
And I think you really touched on it. My next question was, how does the Black men's experience or participation in
Struggle love
struggle
different.
life is different from uh, black women? And you answered that.
Yeah, I wouldn't know anyway because I'm not a man and I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. She spoke to their experience. Um, their they did get beat down and torn away from their family, know, as well. And then that mindset that came in that society played into to keep the black family separated. Um, hey, you know what I mean, was also a part of that. So is a part of their experience. And then saying that, you know what I mean, again, looking at, that then start to demonize a black woman as being overbearing and combative and attitude all the time. Um, and hey, why would I want to deal with that when I can go
Hmm.
over here to some other woman of another race who's going to be docile?
A question concerning that statement because you both said it, and it's something that I've always struggled with. The concept that black women as a whole, because we are always spoken about as a whole, are overbearing, domineering, masculine, um, bossy, pushy, um, unfeminine. But let's just say that same woman, okay, because it's always taken out of context. If you're at work, you kind of have to be pushy, domineering, masculine, especially depending on what type of career path you have. If she was Caucasian, Latin, is it Latinx, Latina, whatever the population name is, Asian, anybody else, she's assertive, she's domineering, she's a leader in her field. The exact same thing. That bugs me. If you have, I don't like this soft life trend thing, but let's say that you have a woman living the soft life, and she looks like me. She's a brown skinned woman, uh, who may wear her hair straight. She may have her hair in locks. She may have a wig on. Depends on what she feels like for that day, and she relaxes and does her hobbies and she enjoys her life. It's a problem. Well, why are you trying to be something that you're not? Where if it's any of the other women, oh, this woman just found someone to take care of them. They live the hypergamous life. Why is it okay in this world? Because it's not just here in America. Why is it okay in this world? And I've only noticed it towards Black American women because African women are not held to the same standards that we are. You are damned if you do and damned if you don't. If you decide to be a career woman, because not all women want to have children, it's a problem. If you decide to have children, it's a problem. If you decide to be educated, it's a problem. If you decide that education is not for you and you're okay with your high school diploma and working a small job, it's a problem. Those, then you're gonna come into you on welfare and all of that mess. Um, if something happens in your relationship, let's say you were married and had children, and maybe your husband died or you guys got a divorce, instead of saying you're no longer with the father of your child for whatever reason, you are already considered single mother and not a regular, she's a single mother. It's a negative single mother. What we're gonna do? So if you walk through life kind of like I do, living in your own world and just not even I'm just Jolanda. This is what I do. This is who I am. That's a problem. Well, why are you acting like that? Why don't you want to discuss this? What's your opinion on that? Well, what do you think of this person? I have been, people have attempted to pit me against other black women in so many circles, and I'm just like, no, dude, I'm not going to talk against her. I can hate her, but I'm not going to talk against her in front of you. That's a problem. So, what are we supposed to do as African American women who just want to live our lives? We just want to live our lives. But it seems to be a problem with us living our lives, unless there's a caveat, unless we're caping for other people, unless we're carrying everybody on our back. Then it's great. Then we're doing what we're supposed to do.
I mean, I'm going to say this. Um, Everything you said is spot on. It is so true. Um, I think the reason that there's such a problem is because of what we have inside of us. And I really, our womb is the portal to life. Our womb, and I mean, you've done a whole book on the womb. And the fact that we carry the Eve gene,
Mm.
we are tapped into the universe. God, whoever you call it, we are tapped in. Regardless if we use our tap in or not, we're tapped in. We are the nurturers to everybody, no matter what color you are. We are the nurturers. We are the planners. We are, like you said, the women with the capes on, carrying everybody on the shoulders. The reason why we can't be that soft, we can't be what you the trad wives or whatever, and why they have a problem with those type of things is because they have to have us demonized. They have to always look at us as that is not what we want. We don't want a woman that is darker than the freaking color of this Palo Santo. We don't want nobody like that because that means they're going to be hard. They're going to demand things of us. They're going to want things for us. They're going to want us to do better. They're going to want us to be better in this society. They're going to want us to move forward. Just like you said, everybody should have the growth mindset. You're a brown skinned woman. Why would you want somebody to have a growth mindset? Really? They are looking at it as our melanin scares them. They know our melanin has has
Power.
consequences that come with it. Our melanin makes us want to have more, want to do more. Now, for those of us who are tapped in, who are tapped into our melanin and tapped into this universe, like you, we don't have that growth mindset. We are gonna push, 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 push. Now it might some of us might be a little softer like you. They might be like me, more of the masculine, because I have more of a masculine energy. They're gonna see that and be like, "What? You want us to? We have to do what? I can't believe that. Why would you want that? That's why it takes a certain black man who is comfortable in himself, who is comfortable in his relationship with his own mother and family, to say, "Hey, I can deal with that." It also takes com- a certain way, a certain community, uh, certain community to deal with us. And that's why there's so many women's circles popping up. There's so many
Mm.
walking groups popping up. There's so many, like you said, African dance classes, so many belly dancing classes. Why all of those things are popping up for us is because we are the only ones who love on us. Now, caveat, there's a whole lot of us still hating on us, who look the same as us, who still hate on us. Because they're like,
Yeah.
oh, you got an education? Oh, you married? Oh, you only got 2 kids? Oh, you didn't have 5 kids? You didn't have 7 kids with 10 different or 6 different men? Like, so a lot of it comes down to, for us, we have to look at what we as Black women expect for ourselves, and that's it. Because if we expect it from anybody else, it's not coming. It's not.
Okay.
Carmen,
Oh, Lord.
Well,
it's
I
not.
mean, I love it when we
But we're on to
expound. we expound. We're on to,
We're on to Olivia's questions.
yeah, your set of questions, Olivia.
Girl, we gonna make it through.
Well, we talked about slavery and systematic
Yeah.
racism, so we're unless you guys have anything else about the trauma that shaped our struggle, life, and love. Anybody
I
else
don't
have
have
anything to
any.
say about that? Okay.
I think we touched that.
Um, resilience in the community. Um, has sometimes. So, do you think resilience in the Black community has sometimes been confused with enduring suffering? That's a good question. Do you think resilience in the Black community has sometimes been confused with enduring suffering?
I do. I do. I think that goes back when I said that. And again, I can only speak from the lens of being a Black woman. So I've never experienced being a man, so I don't know. But that Black women don't leave stuff. That's a strong woman. Oh, you're a strong Black woman. That woman, oh, she stayed by his side. They've been married for 70 years because she endured.
Mm,
And it's never because he endured, because she endured. When he was beating her, she endured. When he took all the money, she endured. When he had outside babies on her, she endured. Yeah, that's struggling. What's the word? Let me look at what was the word you used, Olivia?
Suffering.
Suffering.
enduring
Suffering.
suffering.
That is suffering. To me, mm-mm. My interpretation of endurance is yes, I'm going to push through the hard times and I'll see it through to the end when but not when it's to my detriment.
Yeah,
So,
when there's some reciprocity there.
yes, yes. So now when it's just like you said, when you were describing the love thing in the beginning, Carmen, when it's not just a one-way street. Yeah. But, and I'm going to step outside of myself and say, I think that that has been the situation, especially hmm, our generation of women and the previous generations for all races, all nationality, um, all providences, because we didn't have a choice because we couldn't do anything on our own. So we all endured, but we didn't have a choice. Am I am I being clear?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So what do you think, Carmen?
I agree with you. We endure, well, I can't say, I won't say our generation. I would definitely say the generation before us and before them. They were more the ones that had to endure certain things because of certain um, limitations that were put on them as women.
Hmm.
And if if they had the choices that we have now, I can say that they probably would not have suffered, had that long suffering that they did through certain things. They wouldn't have, because we have more freedoms and more choices than they did before. So I can see
Hmm.
how that it could be um, it could be misconstrued as as suffering, as opposed to just resilience now in certain aspects. For us, when we're resilient in the fact that we're going to keep pushing for equality, we're going to keep pushing for a better education of our future generations. We're going to keep pushing for the remembrance of our culture and our belief systems and things like that. That right there is the resilience, and um, the suffering has nothing to do with it. So it might be, what I mean, though we might get beat back, what I mean, it might be keep saying we keep get beat back by certain things. Oh, they're taking, they demonize our awareness by saying that, you don't want a woke generation. Oh, that wokeism thing. So they took our our terms in turn and demonize them to scare off other people from even understanding what we're trying to do. So yeah, so that part where it might seem as if it's a long suffering, but again, it's that's the endurance. So I can see where the confusion could come in.
And going to what you were talking about, Carmen, the next question, I'm going to start with you because I think you started talking about it a little bit, but I want to know from both of you, how did the older generations in your families talk about relationships and hardships? Was struggling normalized?
Absolutely, I believe to me speaking to the relatives and the older ones that I did, it was normalized. But they also normalized the violence that they used to endure that suffering. Like Jolanda said, black women stay, they don't leave. Oh, the black women in our family, they don't leave, but they don't lie down. They didn't lie down and take it. They just never left. They kicked ass and stayed. They weren't, I might get beat, but you gonna fight. They were fighters.
Okay.
So, um, so they really normalize that you don't, what I mean, that if you're being abused, then you abuse.
Okay, so I have a question, a follow-up question to that, because that's a interesting take. You said if they don't take it lying down. So why did they take it and stay?
Because
Because they
black
couldn't
women
leave.
don't leave.
That's not, that was a story. Black women
They
don't
don't
leave.
leave.
That
Yeah,
was what you said, but they couldn't leave
they
because
couldn't.
it was before 1977, and they couldn't have a bank account, and they
Right,
couldn't get a credit card,
right.
and they couldn't buy a house, and they couldn't even go to the gynecologist and make a decision concerning their family without their father, their brother, or their husband to sign off on it. So they stayed not because they wanted to. I'm gonna go. I know media is one of the next things, but the movie, and this was not a black people movie. Something to talk about. Julia Roberts was one of the main characters. Her husband was cheating on her and just being verbally abusive to her. Um, she ended up leaving him. However, her great aunt had given her a recipe for chantilly pears, and it brought when Carmen said that the women fought. She told her, serve your husband chantilly pears. Have a nice dinner, serve him chantilly pears, and he'll learn a lesson. So basically, she was poisoning him. So a lot of older women back then, they would do that because they couldn't leave. Not that they didn't want to. Now, some were able to stock away some monies and run away. And when they ran away, they had to let go of everything family, friends. They had to run
Yeah,
away
right.
because they would
Sometimes
have
they
been
had to live with their
demonized for leaving
children.
those men and been punished. So they ran away. But the majority of women of all cultures had to stay. So they either took it and were beat down, or some had really good husbands. I'm not saying every man is bad. So please don't ever think I'm saying that, or they would find little ways to enact revenge and get the men to realize, maybe I don't need to try to do that one with this no more. I can cheat on her, but I can't be putting my hands on her. I can't take all her money because I've been sick for 3 months and I'm in the hospital and she ain't come visit me. Like when I say hurting, they was fucking the men up.
Right, exactly. Yeah, yeah,
So uh, it, it wasn't
yeah.
pleasant, but they endured because they had no choice. Whereas I noticed those same aunts and things as I was growing up, some of them did lead them in. They might have been 70, but they was by themselves and happy. And they're like, I don't gotta deal with this shit no more. I can get my own. I got my own bank account. My credit card is in my name, and he don't have access to my money, and I can live and be happy. So yeah, that was on both
Yeah.
sides,
Yeah,
father's and mother's side.
yeah. What about you?
So then I guess this question is pretty much answered. Is the expectation to struggle for love or stability passed down consciously? No, it's not. Or subconsciously. Is the ex I was saying no, it's not. The question hasn't been answered. So let me ask the question again. Is the expectation to struggle for love or stability passed down consciously or subconsciously?
I would say both.
Yeah, I would say both also. Um,
Why would you say both?
um, I'm just thinking back to the things that my mother uh, said to me before I got married, about generally being in a relationship, you know, with uh, a man, to always have my own, because you never know what's going to happen. And even I mean, when I when this has been passed down from, I have older sisters that are, a generation older than me, and they said the same things to me, um, to make sure I always had my own, because you want a man to be a want and not a need. It's always been told that to me. You want to want him more to always to make sure that you had your own money, that you had your own way out. If you needed a way out, you had your own way out. Um, so yeah, I think that
What
was
do you think? What do you think, sweetie? Olivia?
About is it so I'm gonna say the expectation for my family, stability was passed down. Um, because my grandmother was married twice. She married her first husband, he acted a fool, she left, and that was my mama was born in 50 something, so she left when so it was still the 50s when
Mm.
my grandma left my mom's dad, and then she got married again, probably in the 70s. Yeah, because when I was born, she was still married. Um, and she left him too. So and my grandma always said something like Carmen said, always have your own bank account, always have your own money, always have your own. But my grandma also said women live longer without a man.
Do.
And my grandma lived to 95, my great grandma lived to 98, my other great grandma lived to 99. So that was another thing that they always said, because she always said I didn't have to stress about people's dirty drawers. I didn't have to stress about cooking somebody a meal. I don't have to converse with somebody if I want to make a decision. I can just do it. And I've noticed even like how they used to Little House of the Prairie. Oh, I was just watching it with Laura Ingalls when she first became a teacher. She was 16 years old back then. She became a teacher, and she was subbing for another teacher who was probably back then in her 50s. And they were saying how you don't look like a teacher. You're not a teacher, blah, 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 blah. They were like, why do you say that? And they were like, because you're attractive and you're this and you're that. And when she told the lady who she was subbing for, because the lady broke her leg, she was like, yeah, they used to tell me the same thing. She said, but I had to tell them. Women that were old maids or uh, we live a lot longer because we don't have to put up with the drama of having to deal with that struggle love that you guys are all dealing with or had to deal with any of those other things. I can do what I want to do. So I think consciously that was definitely set. Unconsciously, my parents stayed together until my dad passed away. They've had their ups and downs. They never fought in front of us. They always, whatever discussions they had were behind closed doors. So we always knew that regardless, Brian and Dolores were Brian and Dolores, and they were going, what, no matter what they were doing, They had
United
a
front.
united front, and if they had to fight in the back, they fight in the back and they come back out. And it was Brian and Dolores all the way till the wheels fell off. What do you think?
Oh, you guys answered it. I'm good. My both was it. I think it's subconsciously and consciously passed down. You hear it, you see it, and you internalize it. So, but
Okay.
you guys did a good job as far as breaking that down. So I don't have anything else to add.
Okay. And then the last one for me is how was the strong black woman or provider black man archetype affected generation general ugh,
Generationally.
generationally expectations in relationships? So how was the strong black woman or the black male provider, the archetypes affected generationally um, in relationships for your family?
Mhm.
Well, I mean, I could say that it was the expectation was set. I mean, that's what I was supposed to look for if I'm getting married. I'm supposed to look for a man who's going to be able to provide for me, and for me to be the wife that he is going to need, however, whatever that look like for that man. So that's been that I think that's kind of like traditional. I don't know what you guys has talked about before about the traditional wife, um, but uh, but that's something that was always kind of there, um,
Okay, let
especially
me ask you a question. Oh,
in my aspect. From what I saw in my family, having a father who was there and a provider, and then having a mother who was there but also a provider. You know,
so let
that's
me ask you a question real quick because you said the traditional. What do you consider a traditional family, a traditional wife, a traditional household?
I can only go. Okay, well, my what
Go
I
from what,
consider
yeah.
what about what my experience. I can only go
Hmm.
from my experience is having um a two-parent household, a husband and wife, or that both help to provide and create a nurturing and loving environment that they bring offspring into. Um, and then work together to nurture those children into productive citizens of society. That's more of a traditional, what a traditional household like.
Wow. Nothing like I
Different
nothing,
viewpoints.
nothing. That's crazy. So,
Now I'm
so,
interested in hearing what did you
so,
two say?
so when you talk, so for you, a strong traditional family, and let me just make sure I get this right, is both parents being nurturing to the family that they're raising together.
Yeah.
Okay. So for me, a traditional family, yes, is a mother and father. The mother is the nurturer, the father is the provider. The mother stays home and does everything for the children. She doesn't work, she doesn't do anything because her children are the main focus. Then when her husband gets home, her relationship with her husband is the next focus. Her husband, when he comes home, he might play with the kids for a little bit, and then that's it. That is what I think a traditional family is. Jolanda?
Well, my idea of a traditional family is the one I live in. Both your parents being accessible. So I agree with both of you on that, two-parent household. Um, but I do believe that both parents should be nurturing to the children in their own way. I also believe that the husband should be primary provider and that the wife should work if she needs to assist. If they have issues and she needs to come in, then she can pick up the slack. Or if she just has hobbies that she likes that pay her well. But the primary role of maintaining the home should fall on the husband. The primary maintaining fiscally falls on the husband. The primary role of maintaining the home uh, in the day to day running of the home falls upon the wife. However, in my definition, it's flexible. So let's say husband gets sick, wife has to pick up the slack, then you shift roles. So that's what I mean when I say the flexibility. So that's my idea of a traditional household. So I think it's kind of cool
So,
that we have three different ideas.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
so then the archetypes of a strong Black woman, we all said a strong and a Black provider. Since we gave our definitions, how do you see it why can't I say it?
Generationally,
How does it?
Generationally come down in relationships.
what you mean, like you do you mean the definition? Like
How
I'm
does
not
that
under.
archetype, how does that archetype of the strong Black woman
Yeah,
and the Black male provider, those archetypes affect the expectations in
Expectation.
relationships? How does it affect it
that's
from
what I
each
want.
generation? How does
Oh,
it
from
affect?
each generation.
Yeah, that's why I said generationally.
I think they're
Okay,
unaffected.
Olivia, using your big
No, I'm
words.
just saying that I couldn't say the word, so I was able to say it that time.
I'm messing. Go ahead, Carmen.
I think they're unaffected. I mean, they're kind of traditional. I don't want to use that word. I need another word. Um,
The
Stereotypical.
example, stereotypical example.
yeah, I guess you could say they're stereotypical examples that are not going anywhere. I mean, they um they are. Oh my gosh, another word for are etched in stone. To say that those archetypes are etched in stone. They're not going to from generation to generation. Um, they're those archetypes are going to stay there. Um, as we go, new archetypes are being the family nucleus is being defined, and new archetypes are being developed as to what a modern family look like in today's generation. Because I mean, again, for me, that looks, that's homogeneous. That I mean, I have it's a male and a female, but that's not the nucleus of a more modern family where it could be a homosexual relationship where there's a male and a male, a female and a female, but it still doesn't take away from the family that they're creating. Still has a provider and a nurturer, and that same dynamic. If that makes
Okay.
sense, I don't know if
So
I'm making sense.
you say in your opinion, uh, the generations under you are not affected by the stereotype of the strong black man woman,
Strong Black woman.
the strong black woman and
And
the
male,
provider male. They okay.
it's
Um,
yeah. I think it'll all they're not affected by it either because there's so many other archetypes that are being developed that still create that same nucleus.
hmm, okay.
You
I
know,
think that they're a well, I am going to speak from the example of my two girls who are now young women and listening and having conversations with them. I believe that they are affected by the strong black woman and provider male archetype based on what they see. So having conversations with them, um, they have said, I know what type of man, if I ever get married, I know the type of man that I want to marry because I like this in you and daddy's relationship, and I don't like that in you and daddy's relationship. So they're learning from the example of what they see because I'm very open with them. Um, Also, on the flip side, I think that question is going to have a different answer from everyone that you ask it of, because you know how you have the nurture versus nature. I think that has a lot to do with the answer of that question. Like Carmen says, no, I don't think it's going to affect. Those stereotypes are going to have a negative or positive effect upon my children because of this. Um, Mine see it, especially living here in the South. They see things a little differently, and being a little older. You know, Kanan might be is in between Morgan and Tyler, so he might see things a little different than Bethany because she's still young. Um, but that strong Black woman archetype, especially with the things that are transpiring in the world today, they neither one of my girls uphold it. They will argue with you and get their point across, but they're not caping. But that's them. But that's because their mom, I'm not an outwardly caping person. I am the behind the scenes type person when it comes to that. I'm not going to go stand on the front lines. So that's what they've seen. So that's what they'll do. Um, as far as the Black male provider, um, I told my girls, I don't care if you choose to marry, you can marry whomever you love. So it's just the provider, their spouse. Oh, dear, my dear Beck. Okay. Um, my dear Run. Okay. Their spouse, they would like their spouse to be the provider and allow them the flexibility to pursue their dreams. Also, though, they do believe in having their own. So it's kind of like a collage of all the different belief systems. It's like, yeah, I'm going to have my own. I have my own education. Um, I have my own monies. I will have my own things. I have my cushion just in case. That's always going to be. But I also, even though you need to, especially Tyler, because Tyler's 27 this year. So she's at the point where if she gets into a relationship, you got to be stable or knocking up on stable. I can't be totally building with you, like whereas Morgan is 23. So she can still be like, oh, yeah, we can build together. Tyler's like, you got to be halfway building now because this is what I got. And I can't have anything below that. And I can't be building the man. But that's her mother's mindset. So that's her mindset. You see, whether she has children or not. So yes, the deer kind of took me off my mind. I lost the whole train of thought, derailed. But that's the answer. Because the deer, I don't know what I
Dear.
forgot. The deer, squirrel.
Oh,
Oh my God. Okay, Olivia, what do you think?
Um, so if I look at my own children, my son is definitely the Black male provider. I mean, he's married, before years. The Black male provider. He definitely got going to work and doing all of that stuff young as a young man, having a father who worked and things like that. So he's really good at that. My daughter, on the other hand, um, when it comes to being a strong Black woman, yes, she is, but she definitely falls into her feminine way easier and way faster than I can say to this day right now that I do. She is very much, she'll get what she needs to get done. Always. She gets her work done, whatever she needs to do. She will hustle, get whatever accomplishments she needs to get done. She gets that done. But when it's time to be in that soft girl era. She is in that soft girl era. She has the she will have that black male provider. If she deals with the black man, and if she doesn't, she'll have that provider. Um, so I think for my family, uh, the archetype affects my family because I had that. My dad was the provider. My mother, as bougie as she is, I love her to death, but she was able to be in that soft girl era. Soft girl era. My grandmother, she was a strong black woman. She didn't have that option of being that soft girl era in herself. So it's gone down like every other generation. So it's what, like Jolanda says, what you see, and mine has gone down every other generation.
Well, what about like your sisters? Because they're different, totally different than you.
So my sisters are definitely strong black women, but when they're in a relationship, they are soft girls. Like I guess because see, it's different, and I don't know if you guys will understand with being the oldest and coming from what my mother had to deal with me coming here, um, and the situation with my sperm donor. Um, it was always like certain things were always put on me where I didn't get to be that soft girl. I didn't get to be that, like I had to take care of my sisters. You got to watch your sisters. Your sisters got to go with you. Like I always had that. I never got to just be. So when I did get to be, or I created my own lane to be, it was a problem. So for my sisters, they never had that. My mother always says it's because they were tired. There were two of them. That's always her excuse. To this day, and I'm 50 and they're 40, they'll be 47. It's still to this day. I was tired. I didn't know what to do. I love my sisters tremendously. They are the best thing that have happened to me with my children and everything. They are. Now, we have our rough patches all the time, but
Siblings,
that
that's what
is what
happens.
we do. But they have always been able to carve their own path no matter what. I remember when we were in school and British Knights came out. Remember when British Knights came out?
I
Yep.
never could have
And
any.
I remember I wanted a pair of BKs. My sisters didn't want BKs. They were, what is it? Were
K
they
Swiss.
Reebok girls?
K
What'd you say,
Swiss.
Carmen? K
K
Swiss?
Swiss.
Oh yeah, no, they weren't. It's whatever the jumpsuit, Adidas. They were Adidas girls because
Adidas.
they wanted the jumpsuits. They wanted the whole thing, right? So I remember my parents telling me, "Baby, you can't get those British Knights because your sisters need." No, it was Nike. They need their Nikes and they need their whole outfit. Well, because there was two of them, cost more, and my sisters were bigger than me. They were like five. They were already like 5'10" by the time I hit 5'4". So they were tall. They like so it was always more of a catered to them. So I always was that strong black woman. So they never had to be the strong black woman because they were always catered to. And that is why to this day, when they're in relationships, they're always catered to.
I think it's
Very
funny how
interesting.
you and Carmen were in the same situation, even though Carmen was chronologically the baby, she was the big sister
Yeah.
between her and Carolyn.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you guys had that in common. Hmm.
That's very true.
Oof, it's a
It's your
tough
turn
one.
now.
Okay, let me find my questions, girl. Lord. Okay.
Well, number 13, we don't have to answer because we talked about media.
Yeah.
Good job. Okay. Can you name? No, we talked about that too. We talked about 14. Okay. Do you think hip hop or R&B music has helped or hurt perceptions of healthy Black love?
Both,
Yeah.
I agree
both,
both.
Both. I agree with both.
both, because I'm a rap head, hip hop, all of that, R&B, all of that. That is my thing. Rap music, it was I need love. Like it was that. It was, you know, fight the power. Like it was all that. And then there came an era where it was like, F that B. I'm slapping. We're at the club slapping. Like it went from Black women were the mothers, the creators. Tupac even said it. Like, why do we wait for our women, but we get our name from our women? Like that versus now we got a whole bunch of people. There's holes in the house. There's all this stuff. Like it really ruined that perception. Then we have our R&B where we had Luther singing the songs, and we had Earth, Wind, and Fire. It was all about love and all that stuff. Now, don't get it twisted. Some of us sisters, they effed us up too. But now we got songs like "I Should Have Cheated," uh, uh, all these other songs that are out there that are, not so good. So it helps and hurts, but it also goes down to like how do you intake your music and what does music mean to you? Like some of those songs, I like the beat. I ain't even gonna
Mm-hmm.
lie. I don't listen to the words. I listen to the beat.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's some of them that I listen to the words and it can't and that is like what I love. But again, it's how you internalize for it to shape your perception of Black love.
What do you think, Carmen?
Oh, I mean, I think she answered that one. That was,
Yeah, me too.
yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, but then Olivia's the music girl.
Yeah, she is.
I
Yeah.
I love it.
I will say too, vibrationally though, they've been talking about this a lot in some of the circles I listen to, that the vibration of music was different. Even if the words were
Hmm.
not so good, because you know you had the Me and Mrs. Joneses too. That's all
Right,
talking
right,
about
right.
cheating. However, the vibration of that record as it went around and played with that diamond tip and that charcoal record was healing. So even though the
Hmm.
words was messed up,
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
the vibrations were healing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um, so, that's a big difference. And I'm also noticing a resurgence of more positive music across all genres. They're not the popular people, but they have a big following, and you'll start hearing things, and it's really nice to see that people trying to bring you back. So here's another one. How does social media influence young people's expectation? And I'm going to change this. How does social media influence people's expectations of struggle in relationship? Because it's not just the young. So how does social media influence people's expectations of struggle in relate? Olivia's going to go first because she's
No,
already laughing. Oh, I thought you had something to say and you was
oh,
about to
I do,
burst.
but I'm not going first.
Okay, well, Carmen, can you please go first on that? Do I need to
Okay.
repeat it?
No, no, no. It's
Okay.
fine. I believe that they take social influence. People now are so they take social media as damn near truth in law. Uh, that anything that they see, they believe. Any if it comes on social media. So it's really sad that they form such staunch and hard opinions over stuff that they see on social media that just, if you really do any type of soul searching, you know darn well it's just not true. Even if I mean, from your own personal experience, life experience, just isn't true. I mean, even if you have from your own um, educational experience, it's just not true. So it really does mug people. Social media has mugged people's opinions and view of relationships and a whole lot of other things in life. Just totally mucked it up.
100% Carmen, you hit it on the head. Social media in general is just mucked up.
Yeah.
Relationships mucked up. There are so many internet psychologists, internet sociologists, internet like there's so many of that uh influencers and all of this stuff. So I was watching one of them and this man was like, what did he say? He said something about the reason why he doesn't date black women is because because I'm tired of finding their hair all over the place.
What?
And I was like, what? I was like,
So
everybody
you don't
sheds
think
hair.
everybody sheds hair? So
Everybody
you don't
sheds
think
hair.
that you're gonna be able to find some blonde strands somewhere if you
That's
don't?
what I was saying. I was
You
like,
got people that
everybody sheds
blonde
hair,
hair, it's not
down
gonna
to
shed.
dogs, cats.
I was about to say
Everybody
every
sheds
mammal
hair.
sheds hair.
Exactly.
So I was
What
like,
what
oh,
difference is
but
that gonna make?
that's your excuse why you're not dating black women?
Say I don't want
Another
to.
one was,
It's okay.
oh, well, they don't cook and clean like they used to.
Hire a maid
Well, they're
and a
going to
chef.
work for 50 hours a week. I ain't coming home to cook and clean either if I work 50 hours a week
I've sat at
because
home all day and don't cook. So let's not go
well, you're
there.
in a different chapter of your life. You did cook before. So
Yeah, but I'm
let's not,
talking about now.
okay. But
So
I'm saying these are people who are where we were back then.
okay. Okay.
So you did. So I would say at this point, people need to really focus on who they are as a whole before listening to anything on social media. If you
Mm,
don't know who you are,
mm.
social media will F you up. You will believe that you have psoriasis, eczema, oh, they're probably the same thing. I
They
don't know.
are, but it's okay.
Uh, Diabetes, you're gay,
Laryngitis of
you're
the
trans, you're all kinds of things listening to people on the internet. You
you got
don't know what
laryngitis
the
of the
hell
feet.
you are because you don't know who the hell you are here.
Right.
One minute you can say, "Oh, I'm an atheist." Next minute you can say, "Oh, I'm a witch," because I put together a
Concoction.
concoction like how y'all poured the stuff down the toilet.
Girl, we was cooking.
Like people don't understand. Social media is just that. It is social media. It is only for you to consume for enjoyment. It is not to be consumed for
Entertainment.
truth.
It's the
Now,
highlights of someone's life. It's highlights. No one
thank
shows
you.
you the whole.
Because if you looked into their, like how we used to have, oh God, the real world, when the very first ones, like in
Oh,
New
when it was
York and San
good.
Francisco, where we actually really saw them, not the
Yeah.
formulated stuff we saw afterwards,
Right.
but New York and San Francisco, those
Hmm.
first two ones, where we saw them really have those deep conversations, get into those fights. I remember watching the real one where the two black people, Kevin and I can't remember the other girl, was having a talk with the girl from down south, and they had this conversation. She was like, "Well, I thought all black people were this and that and that," and it was like, but there was no social media back then. It was only what was on the news or what hearsay. So
Yeah.
you were
They had
able
no
to change that narrative. But
Yeah.
now with social media, you can't change the narrative. I have children at school this summer. This is how bad social media is. This summer did a whole at recess did a whole Trump. I guess it would be not a documentary. You know when they have the town halls when they talk. What is it called?
Town hall.
no town hall meeting.
A town hall. Okay, they had a whole one.
Wow.
These kids ain't no older than 10 years old.
Mm.
That's how indoctrinated into social media they are.
Mm. Mm.
So yeah, it is effed up.
It is. I mean, social media is great, and then it's not. You know.
And I
Again,
wanted to agree with you too, Carmen, and also piggyback on what you said, Olivia, about knowing yourself. Like this morning in our call, if you notice, I excused myself. Um, I love my community of women. However, the speaker was going down the path I didn't agree with. And I'm okay with that because we all have different opinions. However, I don't have to sit and listen. So when, in my opinion, she went left, I just excuse myself. Now, will I be back? Of course, because she had a right to her opinion. It's her platform. I can either listen or just quietly excuse myself. I don't need to be loud and obnoxious. However, if I didn't know who I was, I would have let her viewpoint change my viewpoint of who I am at my core because I listen to her and I have a respect for her. So I love that you said that if you don't know who you are, which a
Yes.
lot of youth do not,
Hmm.
it's going to have you um, flip flopping. Like it's a big thing. It's been a couple years where it was a big shoot. I forgot the term, but it was like on social media from from witchcraft to Christian or something, and a whole lot of
It's back
the
from witchcraft to Christian, Christian to witchcraft.
yeah,
It's back
a
again.
lot of the people who were self-proclaimed practitioners were all of a sudden in droves going back to Christianity. I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
if that's what you want to do, but you should be understand who you are and know, okay, well maybe I dabbled too much and I know what I was doing, so maybe I shouldn't be out here selling stuff. Let me learn who I am before I start putting a price tag with this. And now I got to backtrack and start telling all my followers, oh, we should be Christians now. Let your followers, well, you shouldn't have had none. So
Right.
I'm going left. Anywho, next question. I agree with what both of you said. Great answers. What kind of stories about Black love are not seeing enough should be seen? Okay. What kind of stories about Black love are not seen enough in mainstream media?
I must say the Cosby Show, having that type of love. Um, uh, in the neighborhood with Cedric the Entertainer and Tisha Cam
Oh,
and
uh-huh.
not Tisha Campbell, the other
I know
Tisha
Tina
who you
Harvey.
Arnold.
meant. Oh, yeah,
Sheena.
Um,
Tashina.
Everybody Hates Chris. Those types of situations are not even Martin. Like those relationships have to come back where they can have a fight, they can talk it out and come back together. Uh, I have a question
I mean,
here
the
that I
more
want to ask.
realistic, the
Realistic.
more realistic
Yeah.
Good
type
word.
of black girl. You know what I mean? Not this,
Hmm.
this made up stuff. What I mean, what
Hmm.
you wish you could see, or what the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. Or the, what I mean, even the all the sweet lovey dovey stuff. You know what I mean? That's not even realistic. When you just I'm just so in love. She's all of this and he's all of that, and my heart sings and I get flutters and blah. That's not real. you know, that's just not that. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm not to saying that you don't feel something, but you know what I mean. Just that sugar sweet saccharine type stuff, just it's not real. Just bring back realistic love.
Your question?
Yeah, question.
Oh, I was coming back. I wanted to come back to a question. When Carmen was talking, literally had to write down a question. So, can you have struggle love and enduring love in the same relationship?
Say it again.
Yes,
Can you have struggle love and enduring love in the same relationship?
if you all if you can turn that struggle love around, because you can't. It's for me with my definition of struggle love. You can't. It can't. That can't endure. But if you have two people who want to have a lasting relationship, then at some point the struggle has to end. So if it starts as struggle love, and it's feeling, the one person is feeling that way, that the other person is not, reciprocating what is being put out in the relationship. If the other person is willing to see that that they need to step up their game, or change some things that they're doing, or even come together to see how we both need to change in order to make this a better relationship for each of us. So each person, like you said before, is getting fed in a way that nourishes them. Then that way you do have that enduring love. But the struggle cannot continue. It can start out that way, most definitely, but it can't endure.
Oh, I have no
What do you
opinion.
think, Jay?
I have no opinion. Um, yeah, I have no opinion. I don't know.
Can you
I
have
don't know.
so let's do in general then. Can you have struggles in a relationship?
Yes.
Okay. I, you're
No,
giving me
yes.
that look.
I'm
Okay.
waiting for the next part.
Okay. So you can have struggles in a relationship. Does that make it struggle love, or does or do you have to have no struggles for it to be an enduring relationship?
You can have struggles in a relationship. That does not make it struggle love by my definition of what struggle love
Hmm.
is. And if you have no struggle, what are you enduring? You just
I
enduring
was just
looking at
asking.
each other every day because I'm sick of looking at you. That's a struggle. If I'm sick of looking at you and sick of smelling you, that's a struggle. So yeah,
And you still do it. That's a struggle.
yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's all I got on that.
Mhm.
All right, that was just a question I had.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
All right then. I'm gonna not let you know what question I'm asking next, so it's a surprise.
Go ahead.
How does accepting struggle as a norm affect our standards for what love and partnership should look like?
Basketball wives.
Damn.
Oh my gosh, you said basketball
And
wives.
what do
Real
we mean?
Housewives.
What do we mean by these
What do you
scripted
mean by
TV
that,
shows? What
though?
are
What
you
do you mean
talking
by that?
about? What's going on?
I'm gonna say it like he said it at the reunion. I'm the only husband up here. She the only one who is a basketball wife
Who is he?
or
What are
a
we talking
housewife.
about?
Girl, y'all gotta watch Atlanta. Anyway, Charles Oakley.
Oh,
So this season was good. So I'm gonna say, when we normalize struggling, we get TV shows like Housewives. We get TV shows like Basketball Wives. And the reason why I say that is because those shows, especially Basketball Wives, truly glorify the struggle that Black, well, just women who are in a relationship with a professional athlete have to go through, and how they stick by the side no matter what. Another example that's been going all around TikTok is Ashanti and Nelly.
I knew it was coming. I was waiting.
And that right there,
Yeah.
I used to love me some E-I-E-I,
I
uh-oh, but
still love the
I could
music.
not. Girl,
Couldn't deal
and
with him as a man, though.
girl, never.
Mm-mm.
So, and then just watching this beautiful woman be like, I know he probably loves her. I know, like, I was talking to Rob and he was like, well, I don't know why everybody on him, he rich, he can do whatever he want. And that
That does
is
not give
the
you
thing.
the right
Hold
to
No.
do
on, hold
whatever
on.
the hell you want to.
Thank you,
That's
Carmen.
that's
Mm,
the type of things that Black women have to deal with. Well, if you got a rich man, you could deal with that. That's what the whole
mhm,
basketball wives and stuff is all about. Well, if he
mhm.
rich, he got money, he giving you money, you could deal with him
You can
cheating.
deal with
You
that,
could deal with
girl.
him leaving all the time. You could deal with him not helping you take care of the kids. You could deal with him and all this other stuff that comes with it. No,
Mm-mm.
that's not right.
And if you
I
don't,
can
you're
even
not
go back to
grateful. Oh my gosh, she's so
You are
ungrateful.
ungrateful if you don't deal with it. I could
Okay.
even go back to I love Papoose from
Who?
Love and Hip Hop.
Oh, him.
Papoose and
Papoose
Remy Ma
stayed with Remy
Yeah, he was.
through
a lot.
her being
Yeah.
in jail,
Mm-mm.
before she made it, during the time she made it,
Mm-hmm.
her being in jail held her
Mm-hmm.
down. And what happened? Her ass went out there, did some shit, and he dealt with that. So on the there's
It's
always a
flipped.
flip.
Yep.
So
And I still say he should left.
Mhm.
well, I mean, he gone now,
He,
but
they both
it
gone,
took
but
a
yeah,
lot
a
for him to
lot.
do that. And I really believe that with mm, with the way people glorify, and I'm gonna say, and Jolanda's not gonna agree, but people glorify struggle love. They glorify this so much that it's okay. And like the people we see, it's so normalized that like it's on social media, like we said, it's on TV, like we said, it's in songs. Like Kish Cole, I should have cheated. Uh you can't raise you can't raise a man by K Michelle. Like all of these things are constantly bombarding us. So accepting it is something that you individually have to do. And
You know what?
because so many
Oh, go
people
ahead.
do accept
Yeah.
it, it's hard for people who are like you or Carmen or whatever who don't accept it. It's hard for us to be like, what the hell? What the helly? And you want to shake them and be like, wake up.
But what people don't do, like I love me some Keisha Coles. Now I'm gonna sing it. I ain't gonna sing it out loud because that manifests. And I love old K Michelle and I like new K Michelle. However, people don't look at the history of the people singing these songs. From their lives, where they were at that moment, they were speaking their
Exactly.
truth.
Oh,
Like,
I know. I
no,
know.
no, I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying people fail to do that and stop,
Oh,
and they think, like you guys were saying about social media influencing and how people take things that they
hmm
see as gospel.
Mhm.
It's also what you hear and not understanding this is music for entertainment and this is where that singer or artist is today. Like,
hmm
I forgot what freaking song it was from Fantasia, one of her Hating the Man songs. And someone
hmm
asked her, it was a big chart hit, why you don't sing it anymore? And she said, because that's not my life anymore. If you keep singing that song, you're not gonna move forward.
Yep.
And people don't understand that. Um, you can listen to that music because these are talented people, men and women, and they make some good music. I ain't gonna lie. But if your mental state is not strong enough to just hear the words and not internalize them, don't listen to music. Read a book. Like, go
Right.
listen to
Right.
something classical with no words. Not even singing in another language because you don't know what they're saying. But just listen to some classical music or listen to some blues or not blues, excuse me, definitely not no blues.
Because that's even worse.
I'm in
Right.
jazz, is what I was trying to say. Something with no music, with no lyrics,
No lyrics. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just enjoy it that way because, ugh, it's a lot. But what did you have to say, Carmen?
What did I say? What was the question? Oh my God.
The question was, how does accepting struggle as a norm affect our standards for what love and partnership should look like?
Well, I could just, like you said, we take it back to social media. Social media has changed everybody's expectations to where they are so warped that you don't, what I mean, if you, like Olivia stated, if you don't know yourself, then these things can become ingrained as truth to you and warp
Mm,
your sense of reality.
hmm
So, yeah,
Yeah, you can't let Wikipedia run your world.
that part.
I don't even know. Do people still do Wikipedia? Is that still a thing?
They do,
Good
but
question.
because Wikipedia, you can change it yourself,
Yeah.
it's not valid.
Right.
Okay. I'll let you know I'm paying attention. Okay. How do poverty and lack of resources play into the emotional labor expected in relationships? I'll say it again. How do poverty and lack of resources play into the emotional labor expected in relationships?
Well, they always said if you're married and you ever went to marriage counseling before before you got married, that financial uh, financial issues are some of the greatest issues you'll have in your marriage or in your relationship. Those things are the greatest things. So they play a very emotional part. You know what I mean? Because especially if you have a man who is a provider, and he feels as if he's not, that he's not doing his part, that could take an emotional uh, turn on him, which again could manifest itself in many ways within your relationship. You know, I mean, he's feeling he's less than, so then he's gonna make you feel less than, or he's gonna take it out some other way. You know what I mean? It could be so many other ways that emotional attack could happen to a relationship because of financial reasons.
Okay. What you got to say, Michelle? You were looking serious. I had to make you smile.
Hmm?
You were looking serious. I had to make you smile.
Oh, um, like Carmen says, money is the number one cause of divorce. I will say that.
Mm.
So, um, and that's nationwide, that's worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I will say that in a relationship, you have to set your expectations of what your finances need to look like. And I hate this word, what you bring to the table and what they bring to the table. I shouldn't have to bring shit to the table because you should be providing the table, but I digress. Um, I feel that emotionally, it's a stressor because of the fact that the world runs with money. I don't care how much love, how much compassion, how much I'm going to focus on my own lane. I'm not dealing with nothing else. I'm in my own life. Money controls everything. I don't care what anybody says. That is the controlling. You won't have a house if you didn't have money. You wouldn't have a car to drive if you didn't have money. You wouldn't be able to put your kids through school if you didn't have money. So, as a, I'm looking at me as a woman of children, money is very important to me.
Mm.
So, if we don't have, because the provider does not provide, then I'm going to provide. So that's going to take an emotional toll on me because of the fact that I'm now dividing myself from
Mm.
my children because I have to now work. So it is, for me, it's a very big toll. And I think a lot of women who want to be the nurturers, who want to do the traditional, because a lot of Black women want to go back to the traditional life that we've always had. That's just my opinion.
I've
They
heard
want to go
that.
back to the
Heard that.
traditional life that we always had. But because of the norms of the struggle of, we don't pick the right people to have these norms, the traditional life with. We pick people because of potential versus what they actually have. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that would cut down all of this poverty, lack of resources and stuff, because if we already know what they have, we don't have to worry about, oh, well, he said he gonna do this, he said he gonna do that. I'm just gonna hold it down. I'm gonna go work at McDonald's. After I get off this job, I'm gonna do this, do that because I see the potential in him. And for me, I'm gonna say this: women don't look at potential. I'm talking to you, young women. If you are looking for a husband, you need to have a husband who has direction. And that's all I got to say.
A real plan. So I like what you just said. So, uh-oh. See, I had a deer moment, and that thought just ran on away. So, I'm gonna go with my. I mean, I had a good question. I don't know what it was. Anyway,
You gotta write it down like I did for Carmen.
I should have because I had the question and I continued listening to you, and that deer went. So, mm, anywho, um, how do poverty, and lack of resources play into the emotional labor expected in relationships? In general, the more resources you have, the less poverty you have, the more you can relax, and everybody can be emotionally light and give everything needed to their other person because you're
Because
not
there's less
stressed.
struggle.
And even though you may stress in whatever you do to bring money in, because that still is a stressful situation, no matter how you look at it, uh, you don't have the am I going to eat? Or are we going to have a house? Uh, is this light going to go off? Yours is, did my investment turn over like I needed it to? That's a different type of stress. And I think it's a more easier stress to deal with. Personal opinion. Oh, I wish I could remember that question. I'm sitting here talking, trying to remember it. Y'all say something. I'm gonna read this question again, see if it comes back. Damn.
What I'm saying, you want to read the next question? I mean,
Okay, bump it. Okay. What impact do you think struggle love has had on the mental health of Black women and men? Oh,
Mm.
oh, I remember. Okay. So, so kind of what I said, as well as what Olivia said, with the resources. Don't marry for potential, marry someone with direction and all of that. And then I said, when you have more resources and more wealth, emotionally, you're a little freer. So, like about 3 or 4 minutes ago, you spoke about Nelly and Ashanti and about how your husband said she shouldn't be complaining about him not helping with the baby because he rich. So that's a dichotomy. So, do you guys think, and I'm going to answer the question after I ask it, and then you guys give your opinions. Do you guys think that wealth negates emotional responsibility to your partner or and your children? Because I can fiscally provide for you and I can buy you anything you need. So emotionally, I don't have to be as available as a man or woman who has to work more and doesn't have that financial wherewithal. My personal opinion is no. You still need to be emotionally available to your spouse and your children. And if you and your spouse do not even get along anymore, you separate, you still need to be emotionally available to those children. My opinion, I personally think Nelly wrong. I don't agree with the he got money, so it's okay. However, I don't think they should be airing their personal business in front of everybody because I shouldn't even know their business. And if she like it, then I love it, but that should be personal. Okay. Whoever else would like to weigh in.
money just is the same. Money don't buy you love.
Mm. Money buy you like.
But yeah, it buy you like, but it don't buy you love. Okay, because
Okay.
you can, yeah, you can buy me. I can like you all the time, but it ain't never gonna get no deeper if you don't provide the depth. You have to be there.
Mm-hmm.
You have to provide the emotional connection. So if it's not there, just because you bought me pretty things and I'm sitting pretty in the house and the kids are all got all the Xboxes and Nikes that they can possibly wear, and but you're not there to guide them, you're not there to enjoy those things with them, you're not here to cuddle up on the giant couch with me and watch TV and we have some type of emotional connection to. You're not there. You're not providing those things for me. What's the point?
Okay. Olivia,
So I'm going to throw another question
what's the
that
question?
Rob asked me. He
Oh,
said, well, why do I have to do those things. If I say I would, as Nellie said, and I quote, I would run through a burning building. I would die for you. I would do this for you. I would do that for you.
Those are words. I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
So the question I asked was, why? Because another was, he's 50 years old and he's already raised kids.
Then don't have another
So
one.
why have a child with this woman?
Right.
Thank you. So,
Well, she
oh,
already knew the deal. No,
no, she didn't.
why have this child
No, she
with
didn't.
this woman?
I promise you she did.
Okay.
Thank you. I promise you.
I don't
Yolanda,
care if
you're
you
right. I
said I ain't
promise
gonna
you she
wipe
didn't know
no
that.
butts because I'm gonna hire 15 nannies to wipe the booty. It is not about wiping no baby shit. It's about the emotional connection you have with your child. You
Right.
have to physically be present in that child's life to form that bond,
Right.
period.
Right.
End of statement, end of story. And yes, if you have the wherewithal, you still gonna hire me some nannies because I'm not killing myself. But you still need to emotionally be available for that baby and that toddler and that little girl or boy and then that teenager and then that adult.
Why have the child? More than just,
We could have just stayed bumping buddies. Like we didn't have to have no kid.
right.
Don't be talking about because that's what you wanted. I could have got that with somebody else. So
Well, I didn't want to make you a baby mama.
I am a baby mama. I'm just it's a such thing as being single and married. So I'm a single baby mama with a husband because that's what she is. She is a single baby mama with a husband. That's a possibility.
Yeah. That
What you doing? Embarrassing her? Come on.
that part.
Yeah, so I agree they shouldn't even did this show,
Mm-mm. Should have kept that to yourself.
but I have some other ideas of what he's doing to her, so
Yeah,
I'm a
but we on a different platform today.
yeah.
Okay, so it's
And what I think you're going to say is also a part of struggle love because that's one
mm,
sided.
very one-sided. All right, I really enjoyed this. Okay, so I'm going to ask one personal reflection and aspiration question of us, and then I'm going to read the other three, okay? Because um, we've answered them. We have done so good. Okay. What, ladies, this is a good one. What would a vision of a healthy, liberated Black love look like to you? I don't like the way that's worded. What would a healthy, liberated, Black loving relationship look like to you?
So for me, I'm gonna say it would be a mix of Cliff and Claire, my mom and dad, and a little bit of James in Florida. Now, the reason why I say James in Florida
They
is
loved each other.
because their bond, he loved her. She wasn't the typical beauty back in those days. She wasn't what men were like, oh my gosh, she's so beautiful. She's so desirable. She's so sexy. He saw the sexiness in her. He saw the softness. He always touched her, always tapped her, always wanted to be up under her. Like he loved every piece of body of her. When she would say, James, does this dress look too tight? He'd be like, look just right. And just tap her on the butt. She'd be like, that's how we got those three kids in the beginning. Like that. So that's one part.
Okay.
The second part would be of Cliff and Claire because they knew how to argue without arguing.
Without
They were able
fighting.
to have, huh?
Mm,
They knew how to argue without fighting.
No, they knew
mm,
how to argue without arguing.
mm.
They always had fights. They knew how to argue without arguing. And the reason I say that is because they never they never took a situation, and I know it's only a 30-minute show. They never took a situation and blamed anyone about the situation. They always found time to then take it into the room, talk about it, discuss it, even with their children. They never they they never argued. Well, they argued without arguing, and I don't know how to say it any better than that, but that's what I saw.
Okay.
They argued without arguing. Fight. There's always fights in that house. They always fought in that house. That was one thing they always did. They always fought in that house. The kids fought. Everybody fought. But when it came to having a disagreement, it was never a true. It was a disagreement. It wasn't arguing to argue. They never did that. That's it. They never argued to argue. It was always a discussion, and we came up to the solution, or we agreed to disagree, or we came back and we said, this is what it is. So
Okay.
that's that part. The last part is my mom and dad, where my dad nurtured everything that my mother wanted and needed, and my mother did the same. When my mother wanted to go back to school and get her master's degree, he nurtured that. He did what he had to do to hold down the house. When my dad did the same thing, my mother nurtured it and held down the house. When my mother decided that she wanted to leave the classroom, my dad nurtured it and did that. When he decided he wanted to work for the college, my mother nurtured it and developed that. And I loved that in them. So that would be my perfect.
Do you have one, Carmen?
Um, well, it's kind of a tough question, but I could just I'll probably say just two people who are on the same page mentally. Like they have their own identities, but they work well together. They have things that they like to accomplish together. They each have their individual things, but they do have their thing together. Um, that spiritually they are on uh, the same path or similar paths. Um, and financially, they are willing to do what they can to help each other as well as help, build their household and take care of their kids. Just being, coming together and being a cohesive unit without losing your identity as an individual.
That's nice. Okay, I lied. I have another question. So, have you ever been in or witnessed a situation where love and struggle were intertwined? So, have you ever been in or witnessed a situation where love and struggle were intertwined?
My parents,
Okay, well, that was easy for you. How about you,
they
Olivia?
struggled. They struggled, but their
I don't
love
think your
was
parent,
with.
well, they had your, no, they didn't have your definition of struggle love. And they really didn't have my definition of struggle love because your parents succeeded. They moved up. So you just meant struggle as far as sometimes things got difficult. Yeah.
Obviously, some things got difficult. In their relationship, they had difficulty with each other. Um, and but the love part was that they didn't want anybody but each other. So
Mm,
they moved past those things. They worked through those things. However, they did argue, fuss, fight. They uh they they worked through those things, so they were able to endure.
okay. What about you, Olivia?
Well,
Do I need
say
to
it again.
repeat the question? Have you ever been in or witnessed a situation where love and struggle were intertwined?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So, how, what did you learn about yourself when you were in those situations or when you witnessed it? What did you learn about yourselves and your boundaries through those experiences or through witnessing those experiences? If it's
Taught
nothing,
me
it can be nothing.
Well, it taught me what I wanted in a relationship and what I didn't want, and then if I did encounter those things, then I knew exactly how I would handle it.
All right. That's fair. Did you learn anything, Olivia?
Yep.
Okay.
That I
Well,
have to
there we
choose
go.
me.
That I have to choose me. And I think that's going to go with the last question. And this question I'm posing to the ladies because I want to hear the answer. And also to our community. And anything that we've discussed, any question, you can always just go in the chat and start a, not chat, comment and start a discourse about those things because we do pay attention. We read things. So, what do you think we can do as a community to unlearn the glorification of struggle and create new narratives? I'll say it again while you're thinking. What do you think we can do as a community to unlearn the glorification of struggle and create new narratives? So, I think that we can focus on our own homes and start small and expand. And teach our children or whomever we're responsible for. Some people don't have children, but you can discuss it with your friends and family and just start opening people's eyes up to breaking those generational curses that you spoke of, Carmen, that are ingrained within us from trauma and in the past.
I think that we can um, start by, like you said, redefining um, what Black love looks like and what it feels like. We need to do that, and we need to take certain words out of our vocabulary and not allow them to be in a narrative that describes us,
Mm,
and take back certain things, um, and we be very mindful and corrective when people are describing us as a community and not allowing us to be put, or I mean, described in certain ways or put in certain situations where you're just assuming something about us, and as social media has done, and taken it as in the community at large, the world at large has taken it as law because of what one person has said about us. So if we start being corrective in our actions when it comes to the description of us as a community, I think we start
okay.
there.
So I'm gonna say I agree with you both, but I truly believe you have to know who you are. And this narrative of Black love, I think, um, messes up a lot of women. Um, they feel I right now I'm watching Love Island. I don't know if y'all watch it, but right now,
Nothing tells me about it.
woo! So there's three beautiful dark-skinned women, and there's two light-skinned beautiful women. But the dark-skinned women, let's just say they're not treated like the two light-skinned women.
Mm,
Um, but they are so gung-ho for Black love. Okay. Um, but the men aren't necessarily, they are not picking them for the Black love because the light skinned women are the ones that they prefer. Um, and I think it messes our psyche up as Black women sometimes because we'll hold out for the Black man and we will take the inch that he gives us, hoping that he'll turn it into a lifetime of love. So, back to your question, I think that knowing yourself is the best thing to help change the community because if you don't love yourself, no matter who you're trying to fall in love with, white, black, green, gray, or grizzly, like my daddy used to say, it ain't gonna work. It's gonna be struggle love if you don't know who you are. You're just gonna take the scraps that you're given. And when you take the scraps that you're given, you're always gonna struggle. Like Carmen says, it's gonna be one-sided. Or you get to the point where you see only potential and you're like, oh, he's got potential, he's got this, he's got that, but he ain't got a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. So then you're looking around like, well, now we're financially struggling. Now that's tolling on our relationship. And now what am I supposed to do? So again, knowing who you are in any of these situations is the best thing. Then you can focus on your home and then you can focus on the things that you have in common to grow your life. Otherwise, you're gonna always be in struggle love with no matter who you with. You could be with your dog in struggle love. Because sometimes your dog will dominate your ass, your cat will dominate you, whatever. If you don't know who you are, you're gonna always be in struggle love.
Okay. I think that that's lovely. So, 1 second. I put a piece of
Wait,
bar in my mouth.
I
Okay.
was like, are you look like you
Mm-mm.
was thinking about what I was saying, so I was
I
gonna say
was
you got something to
thinking,
say on top.
I was thinking, and I was listening, and I have nothing else to add. You guys did a great job. So, this has been another informative episode of Beyond the First Chapter. We hope that you enjoyed the banter and gained some wisdom and some knowledge and some talking points to share within your own community. And as always, we love you. We thank you for your viewership. And we will be here next week to give you another fun topic or introspective topic or sad topic or just a topic to discuss within your own circle. So have a great day, evening, night, weekend, month. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.